good interaction session so that you don't sleep for a session and we don't bore you. Quick introduction of ourselves. So, myself Sadan Patil, I am the pre-sales manager.
So I am Devjyoti Guha and I am the senior solution architect for Trellix.
Good afternoon everyone. My name is Avdut Vishwasrao, part of Trellix team and again solution engineer.
Yeah. So before we start, we just want you can join this Slido so that you can go to slido.com and then enter that code.
So before we kickstart, it was just to give you a gist of that what we are going to cover in today's session. So everybody is talking about Gen AI, generative AI. Everybody has their own perspective, and on the similar line that we want to see that how you're using it at your current practice, and how you are leveraging these type of technologies. So it was like to hear from you more like what is your thought process and how our solution is going to help you in future. So we have this entire technology session on the same line where we are going to talk more and more about the generative AI. So if you are able to scan the QR code and if you are able to launch the Slido, we would like to hear more from you that what do you think about. Of course, I don't want to reveal the question. The question will come on the screen.
Yeah, if you start answering this, if you have used Gen AI, I think the 100% audience says they have used Gen AI, which is a good thing. Why do you use Gen AI? If you can just type in what's the purpose that you use Gen AI or ChatGPT. To have biryani.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a unique answer. Drafting emails. Okay, that was expected.
Okay.
Content writing.
Quick automation search, content writing, finding answers. Wow. Okay. So it's good that quite a good audience have used here Gen AI. But I wanted to have a perspective how this Gen AI can help you in the security operations, right? How it will help you your day-to-day life. Anybody want to speak up what do you expect how Gen AI could have or could help you or should help you in your day-to-day life in your security operations? Anybody wants to? Yeah, can you just pass the mic there? Yeah.
It would be better if we can use Gen AI to automate our redundant tasks.
Okay.
Especially related to reporting, because I don't want that we talk about a solution which is not even achievable or requires a lot of man hours, right?
Okay.
Rather start with easy tasks which Gen AI can help us with.
I understand. I think a lot of time we spend which is not required. Rather, our time should be more on handling incident, handling issues, than doing this reporting. That's a good use case. Anybody else want to talk about? There's somebody want to say.
Providing context to the information.
Providing
context.
Yeah, contextual information. I think a lot of time what we get information from tools is not that enough to convince or not enough to understand what we want to get out of it, right? Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. I think can you have a mic here?
And we are expecting most of your participation, your thought process, that what you are thinking, because all this feedback is definitely going into develop our solutions and taking it to the next level. So we already have product managers from data security, Trellix here, Sri Harsha, he's sitting out there. So we had specially asked him to join this event so that he can directly take the feedback from the customer side and we can see that how we can articulate, how we can implement all those requirements in our solutions. So, and one more thing, we have few gifts. So whenever you feel that you want to express yourself, and definitely we would want to give it away for you. So please be free and express yourselves on all this generative AI, then how you look at it, how we can make it more better.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's already helping, but it can help further is to reduce the triage time. So tool will give you like 10 alerts and all marked as critical. But I think Gen AI can help us setting the business context, setting the environment context, and helps analysts to reduce the overall triage time. That okay, out of this 10 criticals, this one is the one which you really have to carry.
Absolutely, bang on. I think that's a key, right? Which alert we should focus on rather than focusing in every alert. We should be able to focus on one alert where we should spend time. Any one suggestion? Because of the interest of time, we want to move on. Anybody else wanted to participate? Anybody else want to give any thoughts? Yeah, I think. Excuse me, can we have mic? Yeah.
So, sir, before that, I think I definitely owe you a gift. So,
I think we'll give
you can
all the-
hand it over to him.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah.
To reduce noise from whatever we are collecting and focus on only what we have to analyze and then take action on.
Correct. I think a lot of noise today. We get alerts, and we will talk about in our sectional slide. I think with the interest of time, let's move on, and Avdut will take over from here.
Thank you so much, Sada. So it's all about again uncovering the generative AI and how we are looking at it.
It's
That
not
of
working.
course we
Not
know
working.
that
Not working.
we are using it in day-to-day life, and maybe it is making our life more easy, more better. How hackers look at it are they are leveraging these type of technologies to target the customers. What if we shift that idea and put everything into a security solutions like us, where we can step or we can have we can keep ourselves one step ahead, so that what hackers are thinking and how we can keep ourselves ahead of the bad actors or the bad guys, right? So have you ever experienced the misuse of these type of generative AI or AI type of technologies? Could you give any examples that you have seen in recent years? Yes, sir. Could you someone pass on the mic, please?
These days, what is happening is we see the rampant usage of this, as all of us, it is available easily. But when it coming to fudging their CVs, all those things, youngsters are using it. And also there are some agencies who also support them by providing false certifications. I'm not talking about security certification, it may be anything. So for a background screening company, it becomes a huge challenge to, if they are not using AI, how to filter and get whether this has been what the person claims in his profile, is it matching with LinkedIn, all those things. Other social media has to be filtered and the HR has to take a decision. And I don't want to name the place or the city. It is hugely rampant over there. And I had taken the lead to make a separate filtering process for them if they are getting onboarded into my company.
That's a really good process, sir. Thank you so much. Anyone else who would like to share their, please, someone could pass the mic there. Yeah.
Yeah, one more.
In any organization, people are usually chat GPT or any other open AI very frequently. And sometimes they are putting the critical information on chat GPT, rather critical data of the organization while drafting a mail or while creating a content for note sheet and etc. So in this way, it can be misused.
That's a really good example. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
One is to create phishing emails. It becomes much more easier, right? We are seeing clickbaits, right? Earlier, the biggest challenge was for the hacker to think as to where or how he could entice a user to click. Now, with maybe 3 or 4 commands, they can actually craft an email and get the employees to click on that particular thing, right? So that's one, and the second one is the deepfakes. Right, so that's also becoming a big challenge for the organizations. I think somebody else also mentioned about validating the profiles on the same context.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your thought process over this specific topic. And if we look at the real-time examples that we have been experienced in recent events, So yes, of course, the misuse of this generative AI could be lead into any of these incidents, right? So again, there was a fake voice when there was a US voting campaign which was going on, and someone created that fake voice of Joe Biden and telling them, and again encouraging the people or the voters that do not vote for this, right? So it could lead, maybe it looks funny, but it could lead to a very massive and serious issues in future, right? So how we can protect it, or how we can make it more better? So just to uncover that, first we want to understand that what was the previous way of doing this artificial intelligence or machine learning, and how it is getting upshifted to a different technology or a different side. So it basically a comparison of how machine learning was playing their role in security solutions, and the second, that how generative AI is having their own perception over it. So if we talk about 2-3 points, maybe I'll take 1 or 2 points. First is data. The comparison would be, again, if we are talking about machine learning is fully built on the structured data, right? So what we are feeding it to it, it will give you the result in the similar terms. It does not have the horizons are again limited to the machine learning type of algorithms. But at the same time, if we are looking at generative AI, we are opening those horizons, we are opening those boundaries, because here it is not only data, structured data, but we are also powering the generative AI with unstructured data. So it can give you the prediction that if the solution or the collected incidents are genuine one, it can also help our SOC team or our operations team to get to the results as quickly as possible. The second component, which I would again would like to put some light on it, that would be the tasks. Again, the classification, if we talk about task, the second parameter and the comparison between machine learning and generative AI, again, it has a totally two different ways of looking at it, right? So that's a high level comparison, that how we look at it and how the traditional machine learning is getting shifted to the generative AI.
Just to add 1 point, right, the outcome, right, when you look at machine learning gives you outcome like, yes or no. We can use for prediction like, yes or no. And machine learning mainly depends on what data we feed, right? It cannot give the outcome. What you see in Gen AI is totally different. This slide, especially what you see, is the Gen AI slide. Only this slide in my entire presentation is made of Gen AI. If you look at the image, if you look at the outcome, if you look at the text font, it has come so well because it's a Gen AI. It can give a better outcome. I think one of the point which initially somebody spoke about, right, we don't want to get into preparing reports, preparing some sheets where we don't want to spend time. We want to spend time on actual threads, analyzing what we want to do, right? So that's something Gen AI can give a better outcome compared to the machine learning. Yeah, over to you, Abdul.
Thank you so much, Sada, for chipping in. And that's how we are transforming with our solutions, and what real-time business use case that you can expect from the technologies nowadays. It's not about Trellix, it's overall. Everybody is talking about generative AI, Gen AI and everything, and it's more like that, how you are using these technologies into the security solution and making our life more and more easier. So a few of the examples which are already showcased there, like enhancing creative output, generating novel ideas, design solutions, automating mundane tasks, which is nobody wants to work on all those logs. So if we look at the SOC server of yours or software web console, maybe on a daily basis, maybe you're ending up, if it is a mid-size environment or larger size environment, you'd be ending up with having nearly 100 to 200 or maybe more high severity threats and incidents. So do we have enough time? Do we have enough manpower to look at each and every incident and prioritize it, right? So this is where our generative AI or these type of solutions can give you more and more control and more visibility and the accurate data. So with that, again, I would like to know that if any thought process which are coming, that how or what type of business use cases, of course you mentioned it earlier, but what type of business use cases that you would like to look into these type of technology. When I'm saying technology, I'm touching upon all security verticals like endpoint security, then XDR, SIM, SOAR, or data protection, any unique business use cases that you would like to share with us so that we can incorporate and we can see that if it is already part of our roadmap or top 10 list. Anyone? Yes, sir. Can I have mic over that table?
What I have experienced that such solutions are very much developed for the IT networks. But as I am working with GAIL India Limited, so we are using various OT technologies, DCS, PLC, SCADA. But these systems are not very mature for OT systems. So if you can integrate such solution with OT, then it would be very beneficial for our industry.
So, sir, I would say that is kind of a trap setting question to us. But still, I mean, definitely we are building something over there that how we can cover that area, because OT environment or this air-gapped environment, it could be defense or OT environment, it is facing the major challenge when we are talking about a Gen AI, when we are talking about the machine learning, and having those dynamic analysis to treat all those events or to treat all those incidents which we are seeing over there. So yes, I mean, at this point, I don't have an answer, but definitely I would like to connect you one-on-one, because we have our product manager here, so I would like to have one-on-one discussion on that specific point. Thank you so much, sir. Yes, I mean, sir, again, you definitely deserve a gift for this specific question. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
API protection, first discovery and then protection. The discovery of API is significantly challenging.
Okay.
Because max of the organization, in my view, may not know how many API is being used, reconciles, revalidation, and then its further protection, be it at runtime or during.
Thank you so much for that business use case. I will park that and definitely will try to cover in today's discussion. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, so lot of time these AI application we talk in from the point of view of the analysts basically. So what about the use cases where backend teams who are responsible for integrating those data sources and configuring those threats and policies, probably they can stand wisdom from the fact that okay, these are based on the data source attributes. These are probably the best set of policies which will be applicable to this particular data source, and if some policies who are quite redundant, there is no use to it, probably they can be got a recommendation in terms that we can scrap this. It's not worth it.
That's a really good suggestion, sir. So absolutely nobody has talked about policies yet, because we don't know, we are ingesting, we are learning so much data if it is a DLP solution or any other solution, but we don't know out of those incidents how we can create an effective policy and what is the easier and better way for that. Thank you so much, sir.
Just hold on for that, but just hold on, we will cover that use case in our demo. Just hold on that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
One of the important use case is to fill the gap of manpower requirement in the cyber security.
Okay.
So in the form of natural language processing, so it can fill the gap of cyber security professionals.
Thank you so much, sir. Again, that is a really good point that you made here. And maybe I'll take a pause with that wonderful thought process over here, and I will move to the next slide, because again, we have to manage everything in a given time slot. So I will hand it over to Debjyoti, who would be taking over for next few slides. Over to you, Deb.
Thank you, Avdut. Thank you for taking to the slides and setting a context for me to take from here. So as today, please scan this. Again, I believe there are questions, right, Sada?
Yeah.
So the reason we are taking this is to understand more the kind of thought process.
If you go to the on the poll side, right, there you will have this all the questions, not on the QA, on the poll side. If you can quickly answer those, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So can we investigate an alert? Answer is no. Yes, do you have this? We have mix and match, but I think most of the people for the playbook are yes, and most of them are no. No. So full audit tried, I think we have 50-50%. I think so, almost 50-50% for full audit trial. I think Debbie got the answers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's. Thank you so much for participating in that. Yeah.
So today's challenges.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So today's challenges that we see, obviously, everybody will echo here, and we have already understood the challenges that you are going through in your daily SOC operations, managing the network, right? So alert fatigue, as you know, there are a lot of alerts, but which is the right alert that one should focus on? Where the entire SOC team should focus? There may be thousands of alerts, but what are the top 10 that one should focus on is something that we are seeing a major challenge today in the industry. Staffing issues, right? So there are so much of work, but obviously there is a lack of skill set that we are seeing today. That is another secondly a major challenge that we are seeing. And obviously the attacks, there are so many attacks, maybe a medium or even a low alert can be important, right? But the tagging is not done correctly, the understanding of the network.
8+ challenges which will be available to you for solving. So it's a very good opportunity for you to catch up on your score. So please, those who are here, your team member, please call them back. We'll start the rapid fire 2 at
I think there's
3
some
PM.
confusion.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what was it? So the missed attacks that I was saying is the attacks that is something that is of importance, and you are missing it, right? So that is something that you need to understand, that what alerts are important. Even a low or a medium severity incident can be high, but it is not being tagged correctly. There are certain incidents that has happened, like the target attack that happened way 5 to 6 years back. It was a medium alert that came into the SIEM solution, and the SOC saw it, but they did not took an action because it was a medium or a low alert, right? But that was the alert that actually propagated into a massive breach. So obviously everything looks good here. You have the best of the breed technology that is there. You have invested heavily, right? But the output of all of these investments that you have done in your environment, in your infrastructure, is pretty. So this is how the system looks. There are alerts that the system, the endpoint is generating, right? So there are so many alerts that are seen by the SIM, the XDR, right? Again, the firewall is also having alerts. There are certain alerts these are all sample alerts that are being shown here. So these alerts are captured centrally by a SIEM tool or maybe a SOC or XDR tool just to do the investigation analysis. And further, the output of all of these is something that looks very difficult, right? So this is what the SOC team is seeing today. That is an alert fatigue, right? And the result of all of these is that there is a clear burnout, right? You don't know where to focus on. There is a workload. There is a lot of work that is assigned to the SOC team in terms of incident response, managing the SLAs. That is pretty important. So if the SLAs are not mentioned, there are compliance violations happening, right? There are penalties, heavy penalties that we see in the compliance and regulators, right? So obviously this is something that is boiling down into a bigger problem, and the result is the right context and the right prioritization of the alerts, which is pretty important today. So over to you, Sada, from here.
Yeah. So the whole objective what we are trying to do is never miss an alert, right? That's the whole objective. And by the way, the earlier slides were not from ChatGPT; those are created by us. So the whole objective is to have the never miss an alert. So how Trellix is solving that problem, right? How we are solving problem. We asked so many questions to you, also answered. Now it's time that how we are addressing that problem, right? That's the whole objective. So the objective what we are trying to address with Gen AI is majorly on the how do we manage the incident. That's the whole objective, right? There are AI ML tool which we already have, lot of technology has, which can predict whether it's a malware or not malware, which can decide whether it's a high risk or low risk. But the challenge, I think, which initially most of you said, like, how do we manage that alert? How do we look into that alert? How do we prioritize the alert? And that's where we are addressing. So one, I think the point somebody mentioned, like, there are too many tools and we need somewhere where we integrate into that, right? And typically you will see data lake coming in, like, where everything would be pumping into that, to the data lake, all the events would coming into that. But what you need is, you need somebody to contextualize and correlate that alert. Basically from that entire lake, somebody has to correlate and give you the alert which is more priority, and then give it to the investigation response, and that's where the Trellix XDR comes into, right? One of the unique differentiator between Trellix XDR versus others is, like, when you talk to the other vendor, there would be dependency to have one of the native solutions. Here it is not necessary. If you have Trellix endpoint, if you don't have Trellix endpoint, it doesn't matter, we can still integrate whether you have or don't have. That's the beauty of XDR, right? We can integrate with any solution, and I will also show, like, what the integrations we have around that. And I have taken the two examples here in my slide. One is it's not a it's a genuine alert, it's not a malicious alert, but it's a low alert, as they mentioned in previous slide. We still need to investigate, right? This is one of the alert, like, where PowerShell got executed. Now PowerShell being downloaded, it could be a suspicious. Now why it got downloaded, somebody needs to investigate, right? If you start doing manually, you need to get into more detail, as one of the colleague here said, like, we don't understand, the data is not sufficient for us to analyze that, right? So here if you look at here, it has that whatever highlighted yellow, right? There's a base 64 string which run from the PowerShell, and it is triggered by the Nessus agent. Now Nessus agent is the genuine tool, right? And hence when you look at this tool, when GenAI analyzed that, it identified it's run from the authorized tool, it is not for a malicious intent. And what it will do, it will de-escalate that alert, and it will add comment in a notes, like, because of so and so reason the alert has de-escalated. Now the SOC did not need to look into that. The SOC can only look at the summary why it got de-escalated, and accordingly can take the action. Now let's go, it's slightly complicated case. Now NDR, right? When you look at the network, there are so many tools, like, you have firewall, you have IPS, you have multiple tools, right? And all they work in a silos. What NDR does is, NDR brings them together, NDR identify what's happening in the network, and then gives the contextual alert to that. Now here if you look at on the slide which is marked red, right? The exfiltration, the data exfiltration, which says, like, there are exfiltration happen over the C2 channel. Now as a network device or a NDR device, it can capture the JSON file. We take the L7 metadata, we can capture the JSON file, but somebody needs to analyze this JSON file. They need have that competency to analyze this JSON file. So here if you look at the blue which is highlighted, that's the crux, that's where you will understand, like, something suspicious happened, but not everybody would have expert to understand that. And what, instead of that, the GenAI comes into picture. Now here GenAI is playing a role where you can ask Trellix Wise is a GenAI name of Trellix product. So every Trellix product where you have GenAI, you will see Trellix Wise as a name. So you can interact, ask more question, you can look at evidence, you can look at remediation step. Now first, if you want to look at the MITRE mapping, right? What's a MITRE mapping to that? If you look at the MITRE mapping, it has the TTP that includes the HTTP GET. That's the keyword which the GenAI has captured and summarized. Second, the evidence, right? What is the evidence? Like, it looks like, there is some data exploitation happen on the C2C connection, and that's the evidence, like, which I am highlighted earlier also. The Firefox URL, this is a URL from where CNC has happened. And now it can give an entire summary, like, what happened. So it will give a summary of alert, the silver 3, the file which got executed. It will give the IP, source IP. It will also give the destination IP. It will also summarize on a key point, like, the suspicious names are binary FB back.go silver. That's a suspicious file. The host is connected to the external IP. It will also show that external IP. It will also show, like, there is a download happened to that. Now if somebody wants to know in a knowledge graph, right, the graphs gives more better understanding. You can also go in a knowledge graph where if you see, like, the user has accessed the a URL chrome.exe from where the PowerShell got executed, and then the MITRE attack which we were referring to, that is what has happened. So the point here is you can view the alert in all the options. You can ask to give a summary report of to the GenAI, you can ask the to give the sequential order, you can get that. If you want to know more about that, you can get more about that. If you want to get a remediation step, you can click remediation step and it will give you all the answers. So basically the whole objective, what you highlighted the challenge, right, the time that spends to manage alert, that would get reduced here, and that's the whole objective of us to reduce the time that is taken to manage the alert. Quickly I will run you through the quick demo, not much time.
So we are taking you to a short demo here. It will not be more than 5 minutes.
Now,
if meanwhile anybody has questions, we can raise. I think there is a question.
If anyone has any questions, so please you can.
I have a question regarding false positives and alerts that get missed. So how does this take care of false positives? I mean, how do you analyze that?
Yes, that's a really good question, sir.
Yeah.
I was about to put this use case just after when Sada is preparing all that demo session at the Dex. So I'll try to explain this query just by placing one example. Let's say there is one user, maybe a genuine user, uploading some data, uploading some document somewhere out. Okay, that's an incident. We can see that that's an incident. But again, the challenge is whether this is a false positive or false negative, or this is a genuine incident. How to verdict that? The GenAI or the solution, what we have empowered with our existing technology, we can go to that certain level where we can check that specific user who is uploading those data, does he belongs to that specific department? Let me elaborate this example a little bit more. Maybe a user belongs to HR department, is dealing with the finance data, is uploading it, right? Maybe there is an incident, but again, we don't know whether it is good or bad, whether it should be treated on high priority or not. The solution can go to that level where we have already integrated with our Active Directory, we have our tags, we know that what that user belongs to which department, that can be flagged it as the high severity threat event. And the similar way, just like Sada said, that this NASS agent, it is running some random activity, it is running some query. Of course, there are different parent process or connected process to that specific NASS agent running on the endpoint machine. It is doing its job, it is fetching the vulnerability assessment report and so on, right? So that's how we automatically deprioritize it, and we do not flag it as a high severity event. And this is where we can minimize the number or the count of the false positive incidents.
So we have a demo
just
where we will
I think
be
with the
covering.
interest of time.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to show two things. One is, if you look at the connections that we have, right, irrespective of you have any product, right, when you look at CASB, BitGlass, Netscope, or even for the cloud, if we will go to that, you have all the cloud infrastructure, cloud security, if you talk about, we have all this covered. So what I want to talk about, even Zscaler, AWS, email, endpoint, what I want to cover is, irrespective of whatever technology today have, we can integrate those alerts into us. And what you will get, like, when you look at these alerts, right, this is wherever you see Trellix Wise, all those alerts are converted into cases by the GenAI. So all the alerts that you fetch, it will get converted into cases, and it will also give the verdict around that, what exactly happening around that. If I just pick up one of these, any of the alert, right, with the interest of time I will not go deeper, but tomorrow we have our stall, you can come and you can look at this alert. So if you look at, these are the alerts, right, these are the logs that we get from the different sources. Now it's not easy for a normal human being to analyze and provide a verdict, right, and these logs varies. Your checkpoint firewall logs will be different from the Palo Alto. Every vendor has a different way of sending logs, right? So what we do is, one, if you look at escalate true here, that means The Gen AI is analyzed this and it has escalated this to true. That means this incident need to be escalated, and it also provides the summary of the evidence and what is the message, right? It provides that message. And if you go in the notes, it will provide all in a natural language, like what incident it is, what has happened, and here if you find the analysis, the user, the department, if it is a VIP user, yes, what is the IP address, what is the, whether it's a legitimate tool, what is the story around that. It will give you evidence of success, whether this is allowed or not allowed, whether it was blocked or not blocked. It will give you entire summary, and also it will give the remediation step what you need to be taken. Okay, that's the whole we can give you when you talk about Gen AI, right? And of course, with the interest of time, tomorrow when you come to our booth, we can show you the entire demos, how do we do a Gen AI.
So yes, we wanted to keep that excitement. We wanted to stretch it for tomorrow. So definitely you can meet us at room number 7, just to the lower basement, where we have set up 4 technologies demo. You can have that hands-on experience. We can see that what are the options available, how the Gen AI is giving us the results, so that we will get more idea that how we can build up our next security roadmap. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So quickly, I think what we wanted to solve, right? The same problem what we mentioned, the same problem we are solving. We automatically investigate every alert and prioritize. That's the whole objective. We make workflow better, and then it also helps to upskill the talent that we have shortage of, right? It also helps you to do that, and that's the whole that we want to solve with Gen AI, right? And then this is one of the slide when you look at, right? And somebody mentioned also, right? We want her to do our job, right? I want to do my job, which is maybe a threat hunting, which is maybe prioritizing the alert. I don't want to do my laundry job, like I don't want to do that every day doing some Excel work or PowerPoint work. I don't want to do that. I want something that to be taken by Gen AI, and that is where our focus is, right? Our focus is all the low alerts. You don't work on that. Let it get Gen AI do the L1, L2 job for you. Then you can further look. That's the whole objective that we wanted to achieve this. And then this is some of the sample, like how we save time, right? Alerts per day, when you look at it's 1100 average customer scenario, like you will have around 1000. It could be more depending on the which vertical you are. Events per alert is 65. Analyst time spent per event at least 5 seconds, right? But with Gen AI you can reduce that. That's the whole objective here. And basically what we want you to do is get into this stage where you get into a relaxed mode.
Do we have sound?
Sound for laptop. It's fine, I'll leave it.
Sorry for the technical interruption. So again, the idea was that we are all talking about Gen AI and all, and again the solution which are offering those those coverage, but what is our ultimate goal? Okay, right? What we are going to achieve with this Gen AI technology when it is getting embedded into our security solution. So that's what this all video is about. So meanwhile, I think there were a few questions which were coming. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah,
So
explain.
whatever the alert we are getting from the different sources, actually what we are doing, we are analyzing the data and making the label data on the base of the analytics skills and all. So if we are getting the 0 days attacks and all, and this was the not as per the label data, because if you are going for the using the label data, we are using the machine learning model is a supervised learning model. But what happened when the alert was the new and it's a 0 day attack, then how we can going to give the alert to that kind of the system?
Okay, again, when we are ingesting the data from all our technologies, and again, the 0 day protection, maybe it can be achieved with the multiple solution working together, or maybe the Gen AI when it is activated or at your XDR platform where you are consuming all the information. So there are multiple things, filters which are running in behind, and this is where we will flag it off. Again, if it is a zero-day attack, the another thing that we have is the sandboxing technology. Again, we can take the verdict of that specific suspicious file or malicious program, and again we can build our workflow or our response over it. Okay, that could be one of the way to treat such type of zero-day attacks when we are talking about a generative AI. And I know few of our customers who are already leveraging this, and yes, we can cover from that perspective.
Starting the day with a little morning yoga.
You're so chill now. I love it.
It's true, it's feeling all tense. Chasing alerts across a bunch of disconnected security tools.
Whoa. Nice move, kid.
I see you do that.
Must be Trellix. It's a living XDR ecosystem. It brings together all our different tools, provides built-in cyber intelligence, and has these security playbooks that are updated every day. Trellix helps the company stay ahead of the most advanced threats, including ransomware. I guess it makes SecOps a little less stressful. Or a lot less stressful by the looks of it.
Hey, Carol. Carol, look.
The whole objective is to make you less stressful. I think I'll hand over to the Dev to continue further.
Yeah, so thank you, Sada. So how the evolve of the data mining to the alert mining has happened. So Gen AI has also evolved in the last 2 to 3 years, right? There has been a lot of stages of Gen AI, and today we can see the Gen AI where we can take the unstructured data and we can process it. So obviously that is one of the benefits that we have seen. So you can see that before how the data mining was, and now it is alert mining that we are doing in order to prioritize the alerts, to set context. So one of the questions was that what was the false positives, how we can reduce the false positives. It's all through the context. We need to understand the context, and that context has to be correlated with the alert to provide the right alert and the right incident where the SOC team can actually act on. So SOAR plus Gen AI is obviously one of the most important things. When there is an alert, there has to be automation, right? So the automation in terms of taking actions automatically through playbooks is something that we are doing by leveraging the generative AI along with the SOAR functionality, the automation and response functionality. It is not only the prioritization of alerts, but then how we can reduce the time to react and time to remediate. So there has to be an action that has to be taken from the data, the actionable intelligence that we are getting from the Gen AI. That actionable intelligence has to be carried out in an automation manner, and that is done through the SOAR integration with the Gen AI. So right, this is one of the methods that how we are looking at the remediations. So the Trellix wise, the Trellix Gen AI not only does the prioritization but also provides you with the remediations. So the recommendations come in, and these recommendations are fed into the SOAR, and SOAR will take the actions automatically. So that is how we are reducing the TCO, the total cost of ownership, and reducing the headache of the SOC by leveraging Gen AI. And using these intelligence, this unstructured data, we are feeding into the SOAR and we are taking actions automatically. So this is how the playbooks are created automatically, and obviously you can customize this playbook further with the Gen AI inputs that the SOAR gets, and we can take action automatically and reduce the headache and the overhead management overhead of the SOC team.
And somebody just asked the question like, how the 0 day can be taken care. This is how it will take, right? Because you are defining in Gen AI auto response for few of the alerts where you feel like, let that take the auto response. So in that case, if anything that has happened on a 0 day, the playbooks can trigger and can be taken action. Yeah, Dave, go over to you.
So in terms of regulations and compliance, there are certain controls. Obviously the top controls have been listed down here. So this controls is also something that the Gen AI understands. There are templates which are there. We can use this context in order to prioritize the alerts, in order to prioritize the incidents in the data protection platform, and these can be leveraged and used in order to protect the sensitive data in your environment.
Just to add on to that, right, if you look at the slides, right, These are all we have picked up RBI, IRDA, SEBI and UCB, but there are across, if you look at any other guidelines, you will have to have those many controls in place, right? And whatever you see highlighted light blue, Trellix plays in that. For this today's session, we are not going into deep dive each product, but just to give a glimpse that, you know, whatever you see the blue highlighted, that's where Trellix can help you to meet those compliances.
So today the data security challenges that we have seen obviously is the malicious actors. Obviously 19% of the data is to the malicious actors, the financially motivated, where there is a dollar value associated with the action, and obviously that is 80%, that is the financial actors, and 200 days it takes to detect even a data breach, even a data leak that has happened. So that is, these are the fundamental, and these days, number of days are always increasing. So that is where we understood that this is the problem that the industry is facing, and it is very important to incorporate generative AI into data protection, into the DLP platform, right? That is where the thought process all began, and that is where the solution has come in today. The data security platform that Trellix offers is starting from DLP, data loss prevention, whether it is your endpoint, whether it is your network, right? We cut all the tangents of data security, and we protect when the host is inside the network or whether the host is outside the network, right? Then we take care of your database security, which is a very important aspect to look at. Sometimes people don't understand that database security is also an important aspect, and one should focus on how the database activity is moving on. Like what are the queries that are running, what are the processes that are running in the database, and how you can patch the databases virtually, right, by preventing them from SQL injection attacks, TNS poisoning attacks, brute force attacks. There are so many attacks that can be launched onto the database by highly crafted exploit kits. So that is where we look at them, and we protect the zero-day attacks that can be launched onto the databases platform. And obviously the data encryption, and it is a full disk encryption solution that we have. We have file and folder encryption protecting the data. So this complete platform is something that is very unique to Trellix, and Trellix is the only vendor that provides this entire platform of data security from a single management console. The entire protection of the data protection, whether it is your sensitive data, whether it is database or encryption, and that is done from a single management console. And we have an edge over others in this particular area, as we are quite ahead of time in this particular arena, as we have also incorporated Gen AI here, and I will talk more about that how we are using the Gen AI over here. So as you can see that there are three ways that you can look at that how the Gen AI is now being used in the Trellix platform for DLP. First is the classification. So the primary concern for any data protection governance custodian is obviously the classification. The classification is something that takes a hell lot of time to be done, because it requires a lot of manual activity to understand that which data are sensitive, because you will not understand that how many data are there across your infrastructure. So there has to be some capability in terms of LLM, in terms of unstructured data that can be fed in, and automatically the tool should understand the context and the background of the data that needs to be classified. Then the policy builder, which policies to be created, because unnecessary policies creation is again an overhead to the platform. It is overhead to the SOC team, it is overhead to the database custodian, the data security custodian, right? So then that is something that we have leveraged, the AI builder, the policy builder. Here seamless and intuitive policies can be created from a single click of mouse. And then the guided investigation and correlation. This is one of the most cherry on the top that we are using, where we understand the context, that how the particular data leak has happened, right, and how the data is sensitive and why. A data can be sent by anybody, but when the context is taken into consideration, which I will cover in next few slides, we will understand that why this is a very important aspect in the database DLP incident management process.
And just to add on, right, when you talk about DLP, right, and somebody raised the question, concern also, right, building DLP policy is a complex job, because you need to understand your regulatory, your compliances, what it says, and plus you need to understand you cover all the channels, right. So that is something Gen AI will do that. And secondly, the incident management. There are so many incidents which you won't need to manage. That's where the Gen AI will come into play. Yeah.
So this is a screenshot of the recent DLP manager, which is powered by the Gen AI, which is the Trellix-wise. So as you can see, this is the data leak pattern that has happened over the time. So the anomaly has been built by the DLP incident manager, and it has understood that there is some malicious data that is being sent, because there has been a user who has been sending a data, and the reason why it is malicious that is tagged by the DLP incident manager is because the user was in notice period. Okay, he was in a resignation period. So everything is done automatically here. It will fetch the information from Active Directory, right, that this particular user is in resignation period, or you can manually tag that in the DLP incident management console that this user is in resignation period, and on 8th of February the particular resignation was put, and then the activity started, right, then the data leak activity started, and DLP automatically, so this is all unstructured supervised learning that is being done by the DLP, right. So unstructured data is being put into them, and then the supervised learning is being done by the DLP incident manager, and obviously that is how it comes to a verdict that this particular user is sending some malicious data over the internet, and it completely understands, give you more artifacts which is in a human readable format, right. So it gives, even it gives that the user is tagged as resigned. That is how the DLP, the database custodian, the data leak DLP administrator can understand, and the conversation history will be saved for 7 days for the analysis, and this is how it gives. So this is how we are reducing the noise. We are putting in context into the data, right. There can be a genuine user also sending some legitimate data, but when this user is sending data to their personal email ID after putting resignation, and those are all confidential data, those are all sensitive data that has been, so the context has been mapped here to the sensitivity of the document, and also the kind of role that the particular user is into the organization, is into his notice period, and sending out data to his personal email ID, right. So that is how we are looking at things, and that's all from my side. And now there is a question answer. We will be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah.
Hi. So I think, yeah, please.
Hi, my name is Anurag. Talking about the good AI engines and all the insights that you're collecting, I want to ask a question about the data security from a customer endpoint. So when we talk about that, you're collecting all the data and you're finding insights, you're running playbooks on that, you're creating playbooks. What is the data that you're collecting from our end, from which you are generating those playbooks, or from which you are taking that data and making those engines?
Okay.
Can I take that?
Yes, please.
So all the alerts that your tool is sending, right, that alerts will be with us. So when you look at my slide, there was a JSON format which one I showed, right. When I look at the demo, I showed you the alerts, right. All the alerts that the irrespective of sensors, right, when I mean sensors or endpoint, net, firewall, proxy, all the alerts would be with us. Based on that, we analyze and then create the response action based on that. Response action is something that we create. If say there is the user analysis comes like, user got compromised, the response action would be like, remove that user from the AD or wherever you have that account, right? That would be one. That if suppose machine got compromised, the response would be like, quarantine that device. So the response is something that we have built. Alerts data would be from your respective sensors.
So do you store that data also?
Yes. Yeah, I think there's some questions there. Ma'am also want to ask question, I think here also.
I want to ask that what are your infrastructure requirement, whether you're working on the client server technology or how it is taking the data from the infrastructure already existed. And another thing is whether you're storing the data on the cloud or on-prem solution you are providing.
Okay. So one, there are two ways to ingest data. All the applications which have the APIs, let's say for example, I have given a lot of applications like cloud applications, right, Zscaler, whoever the competition which I want to name, including Trellix, we have a API, right. So those APIs we connect via API, that's the API to API, ingestion happen. Where let's say firewall or on-premise devices, they do not have API, we can come in syslog, CEF format, whichever format, that data can be sent to us. And what was the second question, ma'am? Yeah, so whatever we propose XDR is a SaaS model that would be in the cloud.
DLP is an on-premise
Yeah.
solution. So in that case, we will not take any sensitive information of yours to our cloud. It can be on-prem solution, which can be installed on your environment, and the entire database discovery, the data discovery can be done on-premise. So a cloud or that is not required for the database security or DLP. Yeah.
I have a question here.
Hello. Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask a question that you brought out. Your tool is giving the verdict based on automatic analysis. Now, if I have a false positive that generated by an analyst, that can be taken care of.
Correct.
What happens if the verdict itself is not correct? What is the confidence scoring of your tool on the verdict that it is giving? Do I, as an analyst or as a senior analyst, I need to go back and check the verdict, or just blindly follow it?
So if you look at the summary, right, any tool is not accurate, right? In fact, I wanted to put that slide, but I could not get a time, right? Even if you go to ChatGPT, right, you put a give me image of.
It gives varied answers. ChatGPT also will give varied
Yeah,
answers.
it's not, and nothing is 100% secure. But when you look at the summary of the incident, right, it gives you tools which is there. It gives you the IP which has identified. It gives you the hashes. Based on that, you can verdict. When I made the Nessus tool, if you are not using Nessus tool, that means although the GenAI said it is not a malicious, but if you are not using that tool, then it's a malicious for you, right? So there would be instances where yes, of course you need to analyze, but there would be some incident where you don't need to analyze, IPs and
Is there
hashes.
any provision that if I tag a verdict as incorrect and it can go back and change, or the system can learn over it?
So those will always be taken as a feedback, and you understand that every technology works on a feedback, and we also work on that feedback. Any false positive, any that feedback, definitely we will improve over that.
So my question is related to the DLP.
Yeah, Manish want to answer something.
So you talked about DLP and you also talked about generative AI.
Yes, sir.
So do we have a solution wherein the DLP alerts which are coming to the CISO or maybe CHRO, is there a way that using generative AI we can identify whether the justification given by the employee who got the first alert is okay or not? If it is not, then escalate to the manager and CISO, or if it is justified, just close it there.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility?
Yeah, sir, we'll come back to answer. And you want to answer something, Bas? Or?
Yeah, hi. I'm Harsha. I just want to go ahead and clarify, a couple of questions that were asked. So the first question, if I remember correctly, was, whether we are going to store alerts on the cloud. Now, as Sada already mentioned, we do not go ahead and store your data, in the cloud. It is only getting cached. So what are we going to, consider for our Trellix-wise analysis is, we basically tokenize anything that is, personally identifiable information from an organizational context. So we go ahead and tokenize, your IPs, your usernames, system names, so on and so forth. And what we go ahead and feed into our Trellix-wise, that is the GenAI tool, is only that what is required, for us to analyze the data. And that gets stored, in cache for a small amount of time, so that, you can go back to the history and get the context around, what has happened in the past. So that is one thing. The second thing is, whether it is supported on-prem as well as, on SaaS. So we do support, GenAI analysis for both on-prem and SaaS. So how the data gets fed is not from your endpoint. It is actually the incidents that are getting raised and sent to your, management console. The management console is what actually feeds into our GenAI tool. So we go ahead and correlate based on the incidents that has already been generated, right? So none of your, sensitive information is getting stored, on the cloud. So I think you had another question on the data security specifically. Can you please repeat that question? You can use my...
I had a question about the authenticity of the verdict, not on data security.
Perfect, yeah. So in order to, no tool is 100% correct, as Sada already mentioned. So what we have done is, we have a feedback feature. So whenever we go ahead and provide a verdict, we also look at, what is the confidence score in that verdict, with the analysis that we have done. So you will go ahead and get that confidence score. Based on that confidence score, you saw, what we are doing. There is a non-technical summary. There are certain actions that we are asking, the analyst to take. So based on that, when analyst takes those and he or she identifies that, okay, this could be a false positive and it needs fine tuning. So you can actually go ahead and provide a feedback to the GenAI engine in natural language, saying that, such and such a context, should not be considered in future incident correlations. So that feedback will be, learned by the machine learning, and then in the future incidents will go ahead and provide you, a better accuracy. So it's not that, you deploy it and then you will get 100% accuracy. It's the machine is learning as and when, you interact with the tool.
Here I have, excuse me. See, the very purpose of Gen AI, it's a unsupervised nature, right? So the moment you tell ki there will be some sort of a supervised this thing feedback there, now those contextual this thing will vary, because in the present context, the type of thing which got a false positive may vary depending upon how many contextual information or how many attributes you have taken into consideration. So by very nature, maybe you will be putting a feedback, but the under similar test conditions and under similar parameters and under similar type of data, it will give a verdict at a clean. But for other parameters, the moment they are get added, again it will falter onto that.
100%. So if we go back to the previous slides, where we are showing the DLP incidents, you can see that, the first use case that we spoke about is, suspicious activity, during the employee departure. Now, this is something where, we have higher confidence, and this is unsupervised learning. This is not something is being fed. Okay, and if you look at, it says supervised learning, it's actually unsupervised over there. The compliance violations. If a user is not supposed to be, or a group of users, as Dave was mentioning earlier, are not supposed to have access to certain documents, and that they have access and they are going ahead and exfiltrating the data, that is a 100% match. The same thing, with sensitive data on risky systems. What we are doing over here is, we have a solution called as Discover, which basically discovers all the sensitive data across your endpoints, as well as, on your network. It could be, SMB, SIFs, database, anywhere. Now, what we are basically providing over here is, we do see there are some sensitive data that is on this particular system, and the correlation between, the anti-malware solution or the XDR solution says that, there has been, attacks in the past. So this is a risky system. So we are correlating those two and then saying that there are sensitive data which you need to look at. So these are high, or rather, the last one is risky declassification, or, lowering the classification. So whatever unsupervised learning that we are building into our algorithm is based on, where we have higher confidence. But yes, as you rightly mentioned, depending on the context, depending on the use cases, there could be, certain use cases that we derive out of, which may go ahead and, lower the confidence score, which needs, supervision.
Let me give you one more analogy. Like here, resign, probably somebody is feeding it as a properly, it is okay. Say if we are falling on an active directory sort of a thing to see ki, okay, that account got logged out or seized, so that context will get different.
Correct.
Because if some HR department, they are putting, okay, that guy has resigned or terminated, then that is okay. But due to whatsoever reason, if they are falling on a AD, that okay, account no longer it is existing and it is seized because of some obvious reason, some lockout or something like that, again it will trigger a wrong mistake.
Absolutely. But if you want to take it now, or you want to take offline, because I think it's going too deeper.
I'll just explain this, and then we'll be done with it.
You want to go back?
Yeah, go back to the slide. So if you look at what we are looking at, if you go back to the summary, next page.
Next. This one or next?
No, next.
Next.
So over there, John Doe has been tagged as resigned. So that is our context. We are not looking at, if it is, not in the Active Directory. So there is some sort of process that also needs to be built around so that we get the right context in order to go ahead and provide the confidence. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
So, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. So as Harsha correctly said, again, generative AI, we are not looking at this algorithm or this technology as a replacement to our existing team. Okay. The idea is to reduce the efforts. So it's not about, we cannot, it's not a best practice to rely 100% on the generative AI, whatever data that, whatever suggestion that we are getting, but at the same time, we have to educate our team to get gel up with those solutions, those technologies, and how to treat or how to take an action in a right manner. So it would be a combination of generative AI plus skill sets or plus skilled persons who are doing the operations or who are authorized to do the action for such type of high severity threat events. Okay.
We can take one last question and then please go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
My name is Dheeraj Singh. I want to ask a question about your Gen AI remediation part.
Okay.
You told it is automated. So how does it fix that? It actually like patch management is there, or a policy modification, or removing a file, or doing any R or Sigma rule implementation. So does it suggest implementation or do implementation itself on?
So answer in a short, we can discuss detail in later. One is, if we have API, we can push the API to take action to the respective tools where it is. With the API, the action can be taken directly on that tool. Wherever there is no API available, we can suggest a recommendation, this is what, or we can create a ServiceNow ticket also.
Just wanted to remind, there was a question here some time back.
Yeah, sorry sir, yeah. So just to come back to you, right, on the incidents, right, which you mentioned, the workflow, right, we can create a workflow, and we do create a workflow for the customers also, right, where any incident happen, we can go to the complete workflow cycle where the respective user can provide the justification, and we can analyze, and then if required.
No. So it's not about only the workflow. I was saying generative AI trying to find whether the justification provided by the employee is right or not. If it is right, it stops there, the ticket is closed. And if it is not right, it gets escalated to the next level.
I think AISS, you want to take up that?
Yeah. Thank you, Sudha. Okay. Well, thanks for that question, yes. But then again, it all comes to the context, right? So as that gentleman was mentioning, we need to identify the context with which, the end user has answered or provided the justification. So without that context, it may not be possible for Gen AI, because it can go ahead and create false positives as well. So from a justification standpoint, if you have gone ahead and allowed specific user to provide justification and specific justification text, which are allowed for them, then probably yes. But again, it's a open question, and it's a open answer, for anyone to give justification. I can just go ahead and say that, my manager approved it. Whether, my manager really approved it, it is required for my business. Whether it is really required for your business, I mean, nobody knows that context. So that is a gray area. It would be difficult for a Gen AI to go ahead and make that decision.
Yeah. We have only last 2 minutes, Avdut, for you to run 3-4 slides in next 2 minutes. Yeah.
I have just one question. Since we are every day new solutions are coming up, so in these new solutions, every agent has to be installed in the endpoint machines. So it is impacting the performance. So for example, Trellix has this DLP also and antivirus also. So what will be the benefit of using those two solutions in together, or should organization should not have the similar solution from the similar organization and should go for a independent solution of, let's say, for antivirus, proxy and DLP?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Can I take a question?
Answer.
Okay.
2-3 questions I'll just try to answer quickly. One is yours. It's about an approach, right? Consolidation is an important step that most of the organizations are taking. And there are a lot of considerations that you need to look at, specifically around how do you reduce the footprint on each of the endpoint, including if there are multiple tools that are required, can we consolidate all of them into a single agent or a unified agent? That will make more sense. And that will be like reducing the impact on performance also on the endpoint. So we'll take it offline. During the cup of coffee, we'll discuss. But Dheeraj, to answer your question specifically, right? Because you asked about the remediation capabilities. How do we do remediation when it comes to Gen AI? Is it all done automatically? And also on the investigations, is it all done automatically? There's a balance. Remediation action is a balance. Gen AI to some extent would do remediation. There will be, let's say, 32 remediation steps that are there. Unguided remediation, Gen AI would do, let's say, 10 of them. but 15 of them, they would want you to take an action after doing some review. Because not exactly all 32 steps you should be, it'll guide you. It'll give you the complete guidance, it'll give you all the tools to ask necessary questions, and based on the answers that you provide, it'll do the remediation action. So someone said that Gen AI has to be running completely unsupervised. No, it has to be trained. It has to keep getting feedback. Without feedback, Gen AI would not be a tool which can be left unsupervised in an environment, and it does everything by itself. Even for investigations, right, the confidence level that comes in, it's not about multiple alerts, and it's all alert triage engine, which says that this particular alert is correct, this alert is not correct. It's a false positive. It's not a triage engine. It's about correlating multi-vectors and multiple of these alerts coming across different vectors, and then making sense out of it. To large extent, it will give a classification, it will be able to correlate and give a verdict, but then it will provide you a guidance to investigate that particular incident. It will give you prompts, it will give you all the necessary context so that you can start asking relevant questions and then arrive at a complete verdict, saying whether this particular incident was a false positive or whether this particular incident is actually a threat. Try to answer quickly, but in the interest of time, I'll give it back.
Thank you so much, Manish, for sharing your thought over this. And
so,
okay, one last question. Okay, we are already spilling over the time, so the clock is ticking.
No, so I had a related question to what was answered. So one was that it can be integrated with an ITSM solution to generate tickets, and like you just answered, in other scenarios, there will be a supervisory human layer on top of that. My question is related to both of these. So, for example, GenAI obviously is giving a lot of actionable insights, and a lot of them will require some remediation by a human at the end of the day. How do we ensure that the workflow is seamless? Are all GenAI suggestions for remediation put as a ticket and then used as a workflow as a use case, or do we have a middle layer where there are like the SIEM and the SOAR are also throwing out a lot of alerts? GenAI will maybe make a small subset of that, and then a human is going to further make a subset of that to check the false positives, or the second scenario where all the GenAI ones will come to the workflow and then somebody will have to take action?
Yeah, I'll quickly answer that again. When you talk about any tool like which is an incident response tool, right? It's not about what technology that you carry. It's not about NDR, XDR, EDR. There are multiple tools. It's a platform. When we talk of security, it's all about platform. So what do we expect out of a platform? Number first is incident. These are the events, right? You need to be able to prioritize your events. If you are getting 1,000 events, you want to prioritize 1% of that event. That is number one. Second is search function. You need to be able to look at all the metadata and search relevant things. Third function is the case. It's a case that has to be built up, and that's where Gen AI helps you, or AI helps you, because based on all these alerts coming across from different vectors, it will build up a case, and this case has to be investigated. And those cases which are being built up, under that tab, you will be able to do an investigation further. So the one line answer to your question is that there has to be a case build up in any Gen AI tool so that you can take necessary investigation action as well as remediation action.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, so just on that only, so this case has to be ascertained by a human from all the results that are thrown out of GI, right?
Gen AI will build up a case.
It
will have enough context for you to further investigate, and it will also prompt you for remediation action that it will suggest so that you can investigate. Based on the investigations and the remediation recommendation, you can move ahead.
Okay, got it.
Thank you so much for all the questions. So we were all talking about Gen AI, technologies, different solutions and all. So currently our solutions are powering more than 4 to 5 technologies from Trellix, which is data protection, EDR, NDR, and also DLP, where Trellix WISE or Gen AI is already being activated. So we shared a thought process that what are the business use cases that we are facing nowadays, what are the challenges, and there are few things which we are already delivering with our generative AI. So let us know, connect to us. If you give us a chance that to run a POC for your environment and check that if we are able to deliver those use cases. And of course, with one of these gifts option, which we are showing on the screen, that if you are able to close the POC in successful, of course, if we are able to close the POC in 90 days, then yes, you can take away this wonderful Tommy Hilfiger trolley bag with you. So that could be one of the way of engaging and keeping in touch with you in the form of POC and more technical discussions. So with that, again, there is one more point which I want to mention, which I already did. Like, we are there for, again, next couple of days. We have our own room number 7, where we have kept all these 4 technologies, generative AI, business use cases. If you want to experience this, please meet us in the room. We are covering all these areas, so to give you a real-time experience at what things that we can look at. So please meet us tomorrow, please connect us, and maybe after this event, we have our entire team here. We have Harsha, we have Manish, we have Dilip, and we have other folks which are standing over there. So please reach out to any Trellix representative if you are facing any challenge. We are there to help. Let's see how we can take it to the next level. So with that, maybe I'll just end this session. And thank you so much for your participation and giving and opening up on the entire generative AI thing.
Thank you so much.